to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month I get to interview couples who tell their story about how they met. Today's first couple up, are Kush and Gulshan Bada. Kush is the president of GRF, and Gul is the emeritus president of the ceramic slip casting, along with being the secretary. Welcome.
Thank you.
You so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
I always ask 3 questions. Let's see if you can answer them.
Okay.
The first question is, where are you from?
From India, originally.
Okay, you're both from the same area of India?
Yes.
And where is
Bombay.
that? Bombay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. The second question is, how long have you been a couple?
It's almost 50 years.
Really?
Yeah.
After 35 years, we stopped counting.
You stopped counting after 35 years.
It was too much. Couldn't keep up with it.
I
It
understand.
ran out of fingers.
And the last question is, how long have you lived in Laguna Woods?
Since 2016?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I had to think about it.
Yeah.
Been a while.
You know, you're here, you forget.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay.
How did you meet?
Wow. Do you want to, or do I?
Let's
we
see if you
met
have the
at-
same story.
We both are from Bombay. So I was working in a hotel at the reception desk. And one fine day, a gentleman walks up and he had an interview. I mean, we knew about it. The reception people knew about it, that a gentleman will be coming aboard to be interviewed by the general manager for the restaurant that was in the hotel. And so my friend and myself, we said, okay, we'll see who the gentleman is. And he walked up, introduced himself, and he says, and so we both looked at each other, in the sense, my colleague and myself, and we said, okay, let's make him wait. It was just a little joke between us, my friend and myself, and we said, the general manager is just in a meeting, and can you just wait for a few more minutes? And so he waited, and he came up again and says, I thought, oh no, I think the meeting is going on a little bit too longer. Can you wait for a few more minutes? We'll ask the secretary if he's available.
Did you do this because you thought he was cute and you wanted, or you were just
No, at that time it was just one of our little things. We wanted. I mean, if you're at the reception of a hotel, you know that it's a humdrum. Wait for somebody to come up and all that kind of stuff. So we just wanted to have a little joke and fun. So we let him wait.
And what were you thinking while this is going on?
I'll tell you a little backstory of that. The day I saw Gul was the day 2. I had gone the day before, and the general manager was really busy. So the receptionist that day asked me to come the next day, and so when I went the second day and I saw Gul, I said, this is a good, interesting place. There are nice-looking girls over here. Yeah.
Oh, well, eventually we let him
So
pass for the interview.
it wasn't a difficult interview. I was hired, and I started to work, I think, in a day or 2. But I was excited that there were nice-looking girls working at the hotel. So as things could have it, I got the job in the restaurant, which was right next to the reception. So I had to find several stupid reasons, unnecessarily, to go and get to know her. So we eventually...
How long did that take?
That went on for probably 15, 20 days, 1 month.
About a month, yeah. I guess.
And
Were you thinking that he might?
Nah. We were actually having very general conversations when he would, come by to the reception and talk about, passengers coming in or guests, hotel guests or things like that. So it was never. I don't think so. I didn't have any idea. There was nothing.
But then, you see, restaurant works lunch and dinner.
Right.
So between lunch and dinner is time off. So I would find a reason to hang out. And then when she finished at 4 o'clock or so, then I would take her for coffee and then go for a walk and stuff like that. So that's how it all started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
yeah.
eventually it just grew into
Yeah.
becoming friends, or a little bit more than friends.
Yeah.
Did you remember? Do you remember where? Did you ask school out on a date?
Pardon?
Did you ask school out on a date?
Yeah, it was every day like.
For him, it was. For me, it was like, okay, I'm going for a cup of coffee. He's paying for it.
Yeah, but that was not the important part. Because money was, it was quite inexpensive at that time of our life. Just a few bucks to get coffee and something to eat.
Right.
So it was a lovely time. I was remembering or reminiscing that this morning, and I said, I will never be able to enjoy that kind of lifestyle in Bombay anymore. I still call it Bombay.
Right,
It's
right.
known as Mumbai for many
Right,
people.
Right.
But
I know somebody else who just refers to it as Bombay also.
yeah.
We're just
For me, it's always going to be
ingrown.
Bombay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a fabulous time, and
So, what did you do the first time you went outside of the hotel?
just our hotel is in a very
Central location.
yeah, and a big promenade is like walking distance, and you can walk along that with lots of restaurants and airline offices, and if you walk a little more, you come to the ocean.
Okay.
So we went to Napoli, I think, for coffee.
Yeah, it's so long. We can't. There's
Yeah.
lots of different restaurants. Either sometimes we'd go for a little snack and thing, or sometimes even.
And he was
Just
still
walk.
he was just still a guy who worked in the
For
restaurant.
me, yeah, for a while, yes.
Well, not for too long.
The thing was good because at the end of that day, then I had the luxury of going back home in a taxi, rather than catching the bus.
Oh, you'd send her in a taxi?
He would drop me off.
Oh,
Because I had to get back to work.
right. Oh, you were really a good catch.
Yes.
Well, how long did this go on?
For about a,
2-3 months.
Yeah.
Because then I quit that job
yeah, he could.
and I went to a bigger hotel.
Okay.
And then it became more
complicated.
involved because now we were not working in the same hotel.
Right.
So we didn't have that issue of, being. Yeah.
So easy to get together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you had to really make an effort.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So it was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
That was what-
interesting.
It was a long time ago.
How long did it take before you proposed? Did you propose? How did that work?
Well,
I don't remember we ever doing that.
no, we didn't really. He
Actually-
didn't really propose. It's just that, well, in India, if you know, there's a lot of times when there are marriages by consent,
Yes.
and also marriages by, like, how do you say?
I
that?
understand there are love marriages or arranged marriages.
Arranged
Yeah.
marriages.
But
yeah.
this was not
But
arranged,
this wasn't
but
even
it was
arranged,
a
but
combination of both.
Oh.
it so happened that, I mean, both our parents were pretty open to knowing that your son or your daughter is dating somebody or going out with somebody. And my parents knew that I was going out or, being friends with Kush. And so they didn't have any objection. And then the mothers decided,
Oh,
let's get them married because
So you see, before that, there was a kind of an engagement.
okay.
yeah, it's a ceremony.
So where they exchange rings, and so since they're going out together, let's get them engaged.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, so the mothers arranged it.
yeah.
Yeah, because
And
sometimes
they knew each other somehow through. Community is very small.
Right.
So somebody knew somebody, and her mother went to my uncle to all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Is it a good match?
Yeah. So when her mother was
Satisfied.
satisfied that Kush will be a good husband for her daughter, Then she stepped one step further, then invited my parents to their house, and then they came over to our house, and then
It's a very
It's quite different than
dis-
here.
Yes,
dis- different types of customs that
Right.
happen, and then
Right.
even though it was, we can call it a love marriage,
Right.
but they would call it
They arranged it.
arranged
It's not
it, or
arranged.
not completely arranged it, but they consented to
Right,
it like
right,
that. So,
Yeah.
and then of course, all it's society over there is so much that you have to have this ceremony and you have to have
Right.
this
Right. So
binding.
how long did all of this take from start to finish, from starting to meet to you were eventually
2
married?
years,
3.
2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
in the sense because he had to go to. He got a job in the Middle East,
Oh,
so he had to go there. So before he went, we were engaged.
Okay.
And then after a year or year and a half, when he came back,
76 to 79,
yeah,
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
then we, of course, the marriage was
But
took place.
Cheryl,
Yes.
I came to Bombay and I was told to be in Bombay on a certain date. All right, because they had already arranged the wedding date.
Okay.
Okay, we were sure to get married, between us, at least in our mind.
Right.
But the parents wanted to have, especially the mothers,
Right.
all these 35 different ceremonies. I'm just using the number 35
Yes.
as a lot.
Okay.
And so it was like being present. So you go for, it's like going for meeting number 1, meeting number 2. It is like that for 4 days it went on.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And so I told my mom to make it more complicated. I want to have 2 wedding ceremonies. Once in the morning and once in the evening.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And first there was a lot of revolt.
Right.
But then I said, look, you want to get this done? I want it done this way. So they finally agreed. And we had 2 wedding ceremonies. Not necessary, but I wanted it.
Okay. I want to ask you about the ceremony because I'm getting the 2-minute warning. So, unfortunately, because
It's okay.
This is really interesting. Did you come in on a horse?
No,
No.
That's a different. That's the
That's a-
Hindu
Oh,
style.
okay, okay.
Ours is the
okay.
Persian style. We
Okay,
didn't have
okay,
all that kind of
okay.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
But they do because a little bit back on history. We are Zoroastrians,
Yes.
and our history goes back to Persia, which is modern day Iran.
Okay.
And because our ancestors were here, and we gave a promise at that time that we would follow some of the customs.
Okay.
And so one of the customs was the marriage.
Right.
And astrologically, they look at charts and they look at the
right.
planets and all that kind of stuff. So that's how the date was fixed
Yes,
by the
yes,
parents.
yes.
And so the marriage took place on that day, but it wasn't anything like him coming on a horse or coming on an elephant or nothing like that. So cars were there, of
Oh,
course.
okay, okay.
So there was there's certain marriage ceremonies that took place at certain hours of the time.
right.
And it was actually, we got married by the priest by sitting on 2 chairs.
Right.
And the priest stands in front of us and gives us the blessings.
We have the picture of that.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
we do. We do.
Yeah.
It's and you're very pretty in that picture.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, I could go on, but I can't.
That's
So
all right.
I want to thank you guys for coming in because this is really nice. This
Thank
is really
you.
interesting, and again, thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you,
I
thank
hope
you.
it is interesting.
It
was a
was.
funny, interesting thing.
Different. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe someday when we meet for coffee,
Yes.
we'll talk more.
Okay.
But not on the interview basis.
Yes, not on the interview. Our next couple up are the Peavies, Sharon and Dave. Sharon is the president of the California Club. She also does Zumba and the Emeritus Water Aerobics classes, and I want to thank her for coming because she's missing her class today, right?
Yes.
They're both members of Boomers, the Chicago Club, and the Wine Club. Plus, they go to the Deluxe Nightclub, the New York Club, and the Comedy Club. Dave plays pickleball and is planning to start a craft beer club. The first clubs they joined were the African American Heritage Club and the Bridge Builders Club. Their son and daughter-in-law adopted an African American baby at birth, and to quote Sharon, "We're over the moon in love with him, our only grandchild. I'm over the moon in love with mine too." So there you go.
Totally understand.
Thank you
Such
so
a
much
treat.
for coming on.
Thank you, thank you.
I always ask 3 questions to begin
Okay.
with. The first question is, where are you from?
Okay, I'll start. I was born in Northern California.
Okay.
My dad was in the Marine Corps,
Okay.
and he was overseas when I was born. The minute he came home, we got transferred to Florida, then North Carolina, then back to California, then Japan for 3 years when I was in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And then in 1960, we moved to El Toro Marine Corps Air Station, and I've lived here ever since
Wow.
in this area.
I've gotten a lot of military people's children coming on with the same
Right.
stories, but at least you were stable for quite
Right,
a while.
for yeah, quite a while. yes.
Tell her why you were stable. How many kids?
Oh, we had 8 kids in the family, so they didn't want to keep moving us around. They took a 4-plex and made it into a duplex, and we had our family on one side, and there's another family with 6 kids next door to us. So it was a pretty busy
Pretty
neighborhood.
busy. Right.
And then they
right.
finally kept him, the father they had to shift around, but they kept the family and they got a home in El Toro back then. So then they were able, the family was able to stay there.
Nice,
And he would
nice.
pop in and out.
So did you go to military schools in El Toro, or were you able to go
Oh,
to?
there was an elementary school right outside the base,
Right.
but I think it was affiliated with the local school district. And I think at that time it was Santa Ana, because there
yeah.
was nothing out here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And then I went to middle school at Sand Canyon and the 5 freeway, where there's a big bus depot now,
Yes,
but that
yes.
used to be junior high school. And then in my freshman year of high school, I was bused to Foothill High School. And then when I was a sophomore, Mission Viejo High School opened up for the first year.
Okay.
And so I was there for the next 3 years.
Wow.
Well, there was nothing in this area.
I
It was
know.
a lot of
Why do you want to live
farming.
way out there?
Right.
Is that a church school? All those things.
I moved to Mission Viejo in '84, and there was no
And there-
Aliso Viejo. There was nothing.
There was no lake or any of that
No,
back
no,
then.
there was nothing.
Okay, where are you from?
Where are you from, Sharon?
Well, I was born in Miami, but my parents came to California too. So I've been in California ever since, in the LA County area, in Covina, went to Charter Oak High School, and then when I graduated, they moved to Orange County, and I went down to San Diego State
Okay.
and went to college there.
Party school.
Yes, I told my kids we did not care where they went to college, but they couldn't go to San Diego State.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not safe.
Because it was fun, but it was
No,
too
you don't
much
send your
fun.
kids there.
Right.
Okay.
And they ended up both going back east to school, so we were very, very happy.
Okay. The next question is, how long have you been a couple?
48 years,
40.
married 47.
Okay.
We met just about
wait,
a month
wait,
before.
wait, wait,
She has
We'll get
the
to
questions.
We met about a month before I turned 25.
Okay. Last question before we get into that is, how long have you lived in Laguna Woods?
2.5 years.
Be 3 years in May.
In May, but the first month we had COVID, so we never left the house. So I say we've been here since June,
Okay.
because that's when we first got out.
Okay. All right. Now, how'd you meet?
About 11 o'clock at night.
You were
on
25.
I was 25, just pushing 25, on my couch in my living room.
It's very true. His sisters worked for me.
For
My
free.
summer job was the YMCA. I was the camp director. And they invited me over. It was kind of towards the end of the season, and we were having a little gathering.
Oh,
and
you had eight kids in your family.
By then, it was
But-
just 6.
six.
He had lost 2
Oh,
sisters
okay.
when he was younger in a car accident. So he came in the door just as I was getting ready to leave, and I looked at him and thought, because they were mostly younger kids, because his sisters were younger.
She could buy the beer for the party.
And that was
it.
why I joked and said the only reason they wanted me was so I could buy the beer. And so I went on home, and my mom said, "So how was it?" And I said, "Oh, it was kind of slow, but right at the end I met someone my age. He seemed nice, and that was it." Well, my mom was surprising me with a birthday party, and we're bringing all my friends from San Diego, and she called the YMCA, and his sister answered the phone, and she said, "I want to invite you guys to come too, and Sharon said she met your brother. Why don't you bring him along?"
So I got this. She went home, woke her mom up, and told her all about me.
This is
that was
the teenage
so
sister.
We go to her birthday party,
Oh,
was
that's
at
what
a-
your sister told you?
So we were at this recreation center, and I see her on the other side of the swimming pool. So I walk this way. She walks this way. I walk this way. She walks. She didn't speak to me all night.
I was so embarrassed that and I had all my friends from college, that my mom invited him. I said hi, but I really didn't interact with him hardly at all because I was truly embarrassed. She invited him. And then the next week was the last week of our camp, and most of my employees had already gone back to college or school or wherever. So his sister said, my brother is great with kids because Dave literally raised
And I didn't
his
go to
younger
work
brothers
until
and
after the
sisters.
Y closed for the day, so I was.
So I
okay
could get
during
him
the
to
day.
come and help. And I said, great. And she calls him up and he says, I don't know. And so she puts me on the phone. And I
And she
said,
goes,
"Hey."
Dave, I want you, I need you, I have to have you.
Yeah, of course. That's Dave.
No, that's my
Dave's
copy.
version. But I did say I'm desperate for counselors. And so he came and worked for me. So truly, the first time we were ever together, I was his boss.
I had a group and she had a group, YMCA kids that we were monitoring, and we were like this, and toward the end of the week, there were two groups that neither one of us were paying
mingled.
attention to. Then I took her out on a date on Friday night, and the
Afterwards,
next
after-
morning,
I moved
She
back
moved
to
to San
San
Diego
Diego
and
for
left
another
me.
semester. No,
left
we
me.
interacted, and when I graduated, we came back, and
Wait,
literally,
what were you doing that you had the
he
time?
was in college.
I was
Oh,
in
you were
college,
also in college.
working at a local liquor store.
Okay.
Rod's Liquor was on El Toro Road. Now it's no longer there. Going to school and raising two brothers and two sisters. My mother died of cancer just before I turned 20, and I had two sisters
So
killed in a
sorry.
car accident just before I turned 16.
And his dad, a 30-year Marine, the highest non-commissioned officer at the military, over 30,000 men, when he retired, he couldn't get a job because he went in at 17, didn't have a college degree, and at that time that was so important. So he spent his days at the commissary, at the beer
bar.
and the wine, the bar, and became an alcoholic. So Dave literally, at that time, took some time off from college and moved home and raised his brothers and sisters.
And he had dried out about 3 times, and the first time Sharon met my dad was in a rehab center, and that was the last time he went into a rehab
And he
center, and he was
recovered.
sober until he passed away in 2000.
And he moved back home, and Dave could finally live his life and
Oh,
went back to
my.
college, and then we got together, and a year later we were married. So it was very quick.
Wow, what a story.
He's a gem.
Yeah.
I knew he was a keeper when I met him because of all of that. It's a beautiful.
I could also cook because
You can
being
also cook.
kids, you learned how to cook easily.
Okay, so when did you ask Sharon out on a date?
On the last day of YMCA camp, I said, "Would you like to go to a movie?" And we went to see The Sailor Who Fell from Grace, from the Sailor Who
So
Fell from Grace of the Sea.
So at
Something
this
like
point, you having worked together for a week,
Yeah.
Right.
now you weren't like this, now you were more like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you were kind of expecting.
We were kind of interested in one another.
Okay.
So we
Oh,
went
she
on
was
a
a
date.
hot little Irish girl. How could, she was a cutie. Yeah.
So we went on a date, and of course he's going to tell you we had an argument over a word
It
that he
wasn't an
used.
I just said Chris Christopherson was a little braggadocio in his part in the movie. And she goes, "That's not a word." So when I dropped her off at her house, I found
An
the
old dictionary and pulled it
and
up.
pointed it out to her.
And the way he said it, I thought, I've never heard of that, So anyway, I went back to college. Back then, it wasn't cell phones or any of
Yeah,
that.
the phone on the kitchen
And we
wall.
started calling one another hours on the
distance?
phone, long
Yes.
distance, had a big phone bill,
I
and
would
then
drive
he'd
down
come
to
and
visit her, and she'd come up and visit me.
And then
Then
one of our
one night she
first
called me up
dates-
and goes, "Dave, can you get Friday off?" I go, "Yeah." And this is just like 2 weeks after we'd started dating. And she goes, "I have tickets for Earth, Wind, and Fire. They cost $16 at
You
the
were a
time."
keeper.
Oh, yeah.
And I got the tickets. He came down, our favorite concert of all time. And that's why it was so exciting here this last summer. We brought in, for the California Club, an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band.
Right.
That was phenomenal. Everybody loved it. And we did too. It brought such great memories back. We just had such a great time.
Oh, sweet.
So
Okay, so then after that, how often did you get to see each other?
6 months later, we were moved in together.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And my
It's-
Catholic
yeah.
parents were very upset.
Oh, were they?
And a month or
What
so
do I
after-
call him? Your shack up?
Yeah. And a month after that, we got engaged.
So then it was
and then
fine.
my mom was thrilled
Oh, she
because
loved me
loved
anyway.
him.
She loved me.
But she had the name now, what she could call him. And then the following November, we were married. So it was pretty rapid at a young age. I was 23, he was 26.
My boyfriend moved into my apartment, and I couldn't tell my mother I was in California, and,
Yes, yes.
and she was in New York State, and I couldn't tell her, and I had no money, but I got a separate phone, and only she,
Doctor, I get it. It was a
red
different
phone
time.
that only
It was-
that only she had that number,
Number,
for.
right?
It was starting to change,
Right.
but
It was
yeah.
still a little,
So we actually got married at the Catholic church across the
right
street
here,
here.
St. Nicholas, yes.
And his family being in this area, that was their church. And he had been an altar boy with
All through high school.
all through high school and all of that.
From the
and
time I was 6,
so we got married there, but we never lived this area. We lived in other parts of Orange County and
Until we
raised
moved
our
to the
kids. Initially, they were born in Whittier, but we moved from there because our house was totaled in an earthquake,
Oh.
the 87 earthquake, and we moved to Yorba Linda and raised them there, and that's where they graduated from high school.
Oh, okay.
And they both went back to Boston.
Oh, they
We
both
were
went back to Boston?
We were so thrilled. Our son went to MIT and our daughter went to Wheaton College, it was originally part of the Seven Sisters. It was
Yes.
originally an all-girl, but now it's co-ed.
Right.
And they had a dance conservatory and an academic program, and she had graduated from OSHA, the Orange County
Yeah.
High School of the Arts. So she was a dancer, but she was good at math too, and thank goodness she got a computer science degree.
Oh, yeah.
And both of our kids are engineers with Boeing now. They
And-
both are.
And are they in Boston?
No, they came home. Our plan was after they went off to college.
plan.
My plan was, I always have a plan. After they went off to college, we moved from Yorba Linda down to right by the pier in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And when they came home, breaks and summers, they had so much fun in Huntington. They both got jobs with Huntington Beach and Seal Beach for
His frat
Boeing.
brothers would come out on spring break to
Yeah, all their
sleep on our
friends would
living room
come.
floor.
We had college kids everywhere. And then our son is still down here in Laguna Niguel, but our daughter-in-law and her husband both are with Boeing and got transferred to Seattle.
Okay, that's
so
not so
they've been
bad.
in Seattle
It's a
now
2-hour plane
about
ride.
Yeah.
8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And we were just up there a
Yeah.
week ago, so we go up there and visit them a lot, and they come down here.
I have a son who lives in Washington State who grew up in Southern California, and it amazes me that he can live up there and like it.
It is so cold.
It is so cold
It
or
is so
rainy
cold
or
and
cloudy
rainy.
or
Yes,
dark.
we just went through all that.
Right,
It even snowed while we were there just a couple weeks ago. So
Yes, yes.
right,
Had a little bit of
right,
that too.
right. But it's great, you know.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area, so we enjoy having that as a place to go to a lot.
I just got the 2-minute warning, and I didn't warn you about this, but is there anything coming up on the California Club?
Well, we are so in love with the California Club. It was one of the first clubs we went to, and we love the concept of a sit-down dinner dance where you get your reservation early so you don't stand in line. And this month, next Tuesday, we have a band from Laguna Woods here. Bill Ring, who is a great drummer,
Yes,
has
yes.
played his whole life in
Right,
different bands, and he
right.
put together a band called Rhythm Rebels, and Sherry Showalter is in it,
Okay.
but he also has a 10-piece band with all these musicians. They are phenomenal. A lot of soul, a lot of jazz, a lot of Motown and rock and roll, and they're our band for next Tuesday night.
And then early March, first week of March, we have
A pack show.
a pack show with
Okay.
the decades, and it's from Chuck Berry to Katy Perry.
Ooh,
And
It's
they
an
show the
amazing group.
transition of how they went from
Old-
the early rock and roll and progressed into new rock and roll and to where it is today.
And they play all the music from all those different genres.
Right.
It's a great group. They travel the country with this show, and it's just highly regarded. And it's the second
The 8th?
Tuesday, the 8th of March at the Pack.
at the pack. Hey, thanks so much for
Oh,
coming on. This was
no
really
problem.
fun, and I'm really sorry I didn't give you all the right information, but you made it here, so.
Yes, yes, terrific.
But once you get to know us better, you'll find we always make it barely on time.
If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.